What is Routematic and what does it do?
I would say the Amazon or Flipkart of transport.
Do you think AI and automation can ever fully solve the problem of Bangalore traffic?
That is not the job of AI. Let me take a counter stand, right? If you open a road 100 times, right, the traffic will still multiply 100. It's not going to solve any problem.
How does Routematic see the rise of platforms like, say, Namayatri?
Whether they fly on Uber or Ola or Namayatri, it is the same supply. It is the same driver coming in a different unit.
How do you all handle compliance with especially the night shift transportations?
What a human could do in 2 to 3 hours, we can do it in probably a few seconds. Any female traveling beyond 6:45 p.m. to 7 a.m. needs a security guard. Or if there is a male colleague who gets dropped after the female, then a security guard can be avoided. Now you understand how trips can come down through technology rather than humans having to craft this, because first of all, it will take a lot of time.
One tech buzzword you think that is overhyped?
AI. But I think natural intelligence will probably eat artificial intelligence for lunch.
Sriram, a very, very warm welcome to the AIM Media House. It's a nice, bright, sunny morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks a lot, and would love to interact with you and see how good this goes. Let's looking forward to that.
Absolutely. You know, when I was doing research on the company as well as your own profile, you've had a very fascinating career up until now. There was Texas Instruments, deep security, architecture, chipsets, and now corporate mobility. Was there any one particular moment during your career which made you think, okay, this is the time that India really needs something like Routematic?
Yeah, so to start with, I was not looking at India, a plan for India. It was a plan for myself to have fun.
Okay.
Right? Where you have maximum fun. So if you see in my career, I've had a lot of good stuff that I worked on. And, I'm the kind of guy who used to do things a little faster than normal. And I was always looking for something that takes, a good amount of intense focus and time. And once Routematic we landed, it's a never-ending journey of, every day you wake up and you feel that it is not over yet. There's a lot more to be done. So that excitement is where it started. But of course, it has to be supported by the vision of, is it just fun like we're playing a video game, or is it going to have some impact? I mean, we were just chit-chatting a little earlier on the traffic problems in Bengaluru and comparing it to the rest of the world. So good to have those problems, because that's my line of business, right? So we are trying to see what bit we can do to solve those, which is I would say, a noble thing to do. So, and a lot of fun while doing that.
So a lot of people are aware you guys have some very, very big clients on the board as well. But quite a few of people who don't know, if they want to ask you to explain in simple words, what is Routematic and what does it do?
So Routematic is all about mobility, but unlike the ride-hailing giants, Ola, Uber, etc., very unlike them. So we are basically going to work on scheduled mobility, which is an entirely different problem compared to ride-hailing. There is nothing in common except there are drivers and vehicles involved. So let's be very clear.
Drivers, vehicles, people.
People to be moved. But here, so in a lot of it, this is the, I would say, the Amazon or Flipkart of transport, where you put in your request. You don't buy an expected right now, right? It's not real time. It's not instant gratification kind of problem. It is one where a lot of requests come. It's all about dispatch algorithms that are different in nature compared to ride hailing, where in ride hailing, if you see, the key value that is being offered is the quicker time from booking to seat. Right? I booked and I got a seat within 2 minutes, 5 minutes. So here, the booking could be probably an hour earlier, but here we deal with occupancies, comfort, timeliness. There are many other focus points, and not really, definitely there is a booking to seat, but it's more from a pooled perspective rather than a single guy traveling in a car, which is the premise for your ride-hailing kind of thing. So Routematic deals with taking a whole bunch of travel requests and optimize the available resources to the extent possible to give because we are in corporate, we deal with compliances that has to be 100%, on-time arrivals and departures that we guarantee as an SLA of 95 and 100 respectively, and the safety aspects and the cost. So this is basically what we deliver, which is very different which is not even really applicable in the B2C slash ride hailing scenario. They are different problems.
I'm going to ask a few very layperson questions. What is the minimum number of, like if it's a group booking, what is the minimum number of passengers that must be traveled for a booking on Routematic?
No, Routematic is in the corporate transport.
Yes.
So typically they deal with, let me tell you the different types of travel that happens in a corporate. Point number one, the largest, the bulkiest is the home to office, daily office commute as we call it.
Correct.
Which is going to be shift-based transport. So there will be 3 logins where you come to office and maybe 4 logouts as you move from office to home, right? This is called shift-based transport, and it is fairly dynamic because people can opt either to come to office at 9, 10 or 11 and leave after 8 or 9 hours or when their work completes, right? That is why you typically have this asymmetry of fewer logins and more logouts, right? Because coming to office is a very planned thing. Going back from office is a function of when your work gets done.
Correct.
Right? So there is this asymmetry. Then there are fixed route buses that you would have seen on the roads, right? So there is a whole bunch of buses carrying where you talk about occupancy ratio, is it the correct size of the bus and so on. And then on top of all of this, we have the ad hoc transport, which is your sales guys or, your visitors coming in. There is no real last minute schedule as such. They are still going to be kind of pre-planned. These are the closest you can get to on the ride hailing kind of thing, but a few hours in advance, and the experience that one would expect is a little different. Yeah. So these are basically the different types of transport that Routematic solves for. So there is the shift-based dynamic transport, fixed route transport, ad hoc transport, and what we call travel desk, which is for your visitor management and so on, for their mobility.
So basically what I understood is there is no minimum criteria. You're on Routematic, a corporate's book even for a single person.
Yeah. In that shift, it may so happen to be 0, 1, 2, any number.
Correct.
Yeah.
And what is, again, layperson question. So that made me understand that a single cab is like the smallest vehicle. What is the biggest vehicle that Routematic has, biggest vehicle that you guys have?
You can go up to 50, 55 seaters, buses also.
Buses.
Right? But that is going to be the fixed route that I talked about.
Correct.
These are not going to be dynamic because you can't source a bus just for one trip.
Correct.
When it involves office transportation, right? So if your volumes are justifying going for so these are the vehicle classes. One is the sedan, the 4-seater, 4+1 driver, SUV. Then you have the minibus or a tempo traveler, 12-seater. In other cities, there is a 17-seater also. We don't have those in Bangalore typically. Then there is a 24-seater, then 40, 48, and then 50+, right? It's a question of what volume of people are you transporting at a regular, occupancy rate over the month. So here, things are not measured at a trip level at all. It is over the month. So that is the main difference. And hence, again, right, there is no ride hailing involved. That one person may so happen to be in a single car because he was the only one who opted for a transport in that shift. Or there were 4 people from 4 different corners of Bangalore that you couldn't pull them from, right? You can't force feed people to travel 3 hours when it only takes them 1 hour direct, right? So these are some of the, now you understand that there is a huge flavor difference compared to the rest of what people might think is involved in designing dynamic transport systems.
AI-driven route planning, ML-powered delay prediction, real-time traffic analysis, all of this sounds, when it comes to India, it still sounds a little futuristic. Can you break it down in the simplest of terms that how Routematic actually does this?
Yeah, so definitely there are mapping platforms like Google, Map My India. They are fantastic, right? But they solve the singular problem of where am I? The navigational aspect. They don't solve the problem of where are you? Because that is not what they are designed to do. They are B2C. They are for navigational purposes, right? So what we have looked at is the fact that we are not going to be about random locations of Bangalore. So that's the leverage I have. For example, when I am at Outer Ring Road, let's say Eco World, right? I need to profile the entire data just for Eco World from anywhere in Bangalore, wherever people are coming from, to Bellandur. So we have our own indexing and AI systems that are super efficient and super accurate in known hotspots rather than trying to be generic. And therefore, that is the leverage that we have in AI. You need to train it against some targets, right? Typically, and when you know what the targets are a priori, which is basically the like an electronic city or an outer ring road or Whitefield, ITPL and so on, right? So those give us the leverage to super train our systems that are much, much more accurate, simply because that is not the job of a consumer-oriented navigation system. So that is where we are leveraging AI to the maximum.
predictive fleet dispatch is one of the biggest features
Yeah.
on your system.
Yeah.
What kind of data sets and ML models power this?
So predictive, let me quickly explain what is predictive fleet dispatch. So if you see a regular driver, you understand that there are drivers who earn a lot on Uber and there are drivers who may not do so well. It is because they position themselves in different parts of the city. When to stand in front of the airport to get the maximum hit.
Correct.
And where it will lead to. You know that they sometimes deny your trip, not because this trip is not long or short, but where it ends up.
True.
They will always want to know the target, right?
True.
That is predictive fleet dispatch. So in Routematic, given that we are in the corporate world, we have systems that can predict where the next trip is going to come from, and if you land up in that place, what is the probability of getting a trip and so on, right? In the amount of working hours that you have. Drivers cannot work more than, let's say, 12 hours or 10 hours. There are statutory requirements around that. So we design our systems, we train them using reinforcement learning, where policies are made, right? In AI, you have three different aspects: the supervised, unsupervised, clustering, and then reinforcement learning. RL is typically used when you have policies to be decoded. Like optimal dispatch is not a one-time thing. If I dispatch now, what is the probability that it will end up being fully utilized across the entire set, right?
Right.
Typically used in chess playing machines. It's not about taking a bigger piece and saying I won, right? You may not want to do that in case you may not win the game, right? It's the end target is winning, which is utilization for us. So we continuously train our systems given historic data, because again, we are in the corporate transport. It is more or less the same bunch of employees. The demographic for an office is the same and so on. So we run large modeling tools to understand where the cabs are to be positioned. So if you see in Routematic, my drivers will get some suspicious trips called link trips, which will tell them where to go without a
Link
passenger.
trips.
Yeah, the predicted ones where the driver will be told to go and wait somewhere else. The request can come 10 minutes ago, but I would have dispatched him 3 hours ago. You understand the difference, right?
So what would happen when the driver goes to that particular spot?
He has a high probability of landing a trip. Otherwise, let's say that there are 100 vehicles required in this office, but I have 100 available vehicles for the next 5 hours, but they are 3 hours away.
Right.
And I want this vehicle in the next 10 minutes.
So which is why from beforehand itself, you predict that through AI and get the vehicle to be in that area.
Correct. So we keep dispatching our vehicles to stand in different, what we call hotspots, to maximize the probability of getting a trip.
Which are, say, during an office hour, early morning, which are some of the peak hotspots of Bangalore?
Okay. We don't have early morning at all because we are in the BPO, KPO focused areas where the time zones
Shift
are
timings.
different. Yeah. The shift timings are US timings may start after 9 p.m. also. That is another leverage that we have, which is supporting different time zones gives me a lot of rotational convenience of the vehicle. So we go after that. In the daytime, it is typically buses that we talked about because most people, the San Francisco Bay Bridge will happen in the daytime where 7 to 9, what we call general shift, right? Which is a problem by itself, which is where we are looking at nodal pickup points, because in daytime, people can walk maybe half a kilometer to take a bus or a car. But in night transport, it is not possible. It's statutory requirement to go do home pickup, home drop, right? So there are all these know-how that you need to build. So there is no real hotspot. The hotspot is really dependent on what bunch of customers I have in the city. So there is no real hotspot as such. It is what the data says. If I could tell you that these are the typical hotspots, you don't need AI, right? In real time. So one is building the model and the other is to dispatch it in real time. They have to match, or you will suffer burn in your company, in your operations.
So the models that you're using for your predictive fleet dispatch, are you training the models in-house or do you rely on external AI frameworks?
100% in-house. There are external AI frameworks will not work because currently whatever frameworks that are there, these days there is a misconception AI is all about LLMs. It is not. Okay, AI is not just LLM, though LLMs because of OpenAI and DeepSeek are in the limelight for a while. These are all powered fundamentally by a bunch of algorithms, right? Transformer is one architecture. There could be others, right? So we have been using AI before LLMs by using the underlying platform, the underlying technology that powers these guys. So we definitely have no use for LLMs right now, except probably in use cases where the support tickets could be raised, etc. There's a different ancillary things that you can develop. But if you were to solve transport problems using hardcore tech, you need to mix operations research and combinatorics with AI. And I do believe we are doing something very unique there.
Real-time traffic analysis sounds pretty straightforward, but when it comes to Indian traffic, it's chaotic.
Yeah.
It's not just cars. So how does your system adapt to, say, the unpredictable elements, like, say, a sudden protest, cow roadblock, weather changes, things like that?
So let's split it into two parts. Okay. There is predictive travel time estimation, and there is real-time travel time estimation. We do not do real-time travel time estimation. We leave it to Google, because the way people are already in the vehicle. The driver has already started driving. There's nothing I can do. Google is very good in telling you where the, whether there is a roadblock, etc. You may be limited in choice, or you may have alternatives, but that is all you can do. Once all the people have boarded the car and the driver has started the trip, there is no role other than tracking that we can do. Right? We cannot tell two people to come out and take another car. That's not possible. Right? So where we do it, where we really excel in is, we do take the travel time of this and a statistical measure of what travel time estimated should you give to this particular trip for tomorrow, given its performance between these 2 points in history. That gives you a 95% fit. You play with the basic statistics here. Yeah.
Right. Your AI stack helps reduce fleet size. That's something you mentioned a little while back as well. Can you explain how predictive fleet dispatch works and how it cuts costs and boosts performance?
For a customer, predictive fleet dispatch doesn't really matter for my end customer, because they are going to be on Routematic app putting in requests. This PFD is something that we internally do to use less number of fleet. So I'll tell you how it works. We hire drivers on a fixed hour basis, like 12 hours in a day, 10 to 10, 12 to 12, whatever it is, right? This is not an arbitrage game where I am telling my customer, hey, your trip is this much and I'll take a cut. That is not how it works. These are totally different systems, right? So the demand keeps coming. The AI keeps training on the demand. And where 100 cabs used to run 200 trips, I can do it with 70. That is an internal metric for me. It doesn't really translate to the client. The client gets 95% on-time arrivals and 100% on-time departures. That's what matters to them. It doesn't matter how many vehicles are used, right? So this is a very pivotal thing in life where, they have to talk to each other, but designing demand and supply on the same platform as a way of, having a direct translation from this is not going to work. So PFD is an internal Routematic metric to prove to you for resource utilization, because we pay per resource at the end of the day, right? Lesser the number of resources, lesser my cost. But that may not translate directly to a client, because they are looking at a service of a different nature, right? Because I will probably do a trip for company A and the vehicle may do a trip for company B. They don't talk to each other, right?
I want to ask you about this one thing and how you guys fixed it. And give me two answers. Like, what is the scenario right now? And how difficult was it when you guys were starting out with this? That how do you all handle compliance with especially the night shift transportations and manage issues like, say, absenteeism or driver quality, safety for that matter?
No, this is a very good question. So point number one, you wanted to know about compliances, right? So there is a demand side compliance, there is a supply side compliance, right? Demand side compliance, there is the rule of the land, law of the land, and my clients may superimpose a few more on those. For example, the law of the land is any female traveling beyond 6 p.m., 6:45 p.m. to 7 a.m. needs a security guard. Okay, this is the rule of the land.
Okay.
Yeah, if she were to travel alone, or if there is a male colleague that drops, where she has a company till her point, then a security guard can be avoided.
Right. So explain to me a little. Say if it's just a one vehicle and there's the driver and the employee that needs to be dropped, and it's a female employee. But if it's post 6:45, so there needs to be a security guard in the vehicle.
Definitely. There's a male who gets dropped after the female. He is the security guard.
Right.
Now you understand why routing can be fun. By clever arrangement, and the security guard is going to pretty much double the cost because the guard has to come back.
I was just thinking that would mean a lot more security guards to be hired.
This is how we save cost. By reducing the number. Here, dispatch doesn't matter.
Correct.
This is all about clever routing to minimize the number of security guards by pulling as many females with male being accompanied as possible. Right? Now, there are this is one basic requirement. Then there are others that my clients may superimpose. For example, they might say that for comfort, if the vehicle is going beyond, let's say, to certain areas or beyond, let's say, 1.5 hours of travel. This can happen in Delhi, for example. The radius is pretty large. So if though in those cases, they may say that don't load 4 people, it's going to be uncomfortable. Though the number of seats is 4, load just 3. Similarly, some customers say 2 males and 1 female in the back seat is prohibited, it's uncomfortable. We route for all of these constraints at the same time. Right? Now you understand how trips can come down through technology rather than humans having to craft this, because first of all, it will take a lot of time. What a human could do in 2 to 3 hours, we can do it in probably a few seconds. Right? And therefore, the cost can come down by between 5 to 15% just by routing.
This example that you gave, I can exactly think of this. My first job was in Delhi. It was in 2015. And there was a Singh Saab who had like 7 sheets of papers. And at the end of every shift, he would be like, tum us gaadi mein jao. You go to that car. And that used to happen in 2015 as well.
Yeah.
In a place like NDTV.
Yeah. It still happens in some companies still, right? I mean, many companies are still manually operated. Now you can imagine, see, there are multiple things, right? The way I visualize this whole game is along 3 steps. Digitize, automate, and optimize. So when you have the Singh Saab replaced by a piece of tech that he will operate on a computer.
Correct.
Instead of 20 people, maybe 1 is enough. That is digitization. You have solved for the fact that things have gone online. Things have gone onto a system. That is digitization. We have observed that just digitization will give you 2% cost benefit. Then there is automation. What if Singh Saab didn't have to do that? What if at a clock rate you can do these things autonomously, right? Like automatic routing. You don't have to. You can give a UI or an Excel to do this, or it could be automated. So that can deliver between 5 to 15% by controlling no-shows. You talked about people not showing up and all that, right?
Yes.
No-show cost, we have seen some companies going beyond 10, 14%.
Wow.
That's the cost that they may take. But with the system, given that no-shows are going to be, squeezed into other cars, etc., autonomously, that can come down to maybe 3 to 5%, right? That is something that we help customers. And we are talking about multiple millions per month. The third one is optimization. Now, you have run the system for 3 to 6 months. This also answers your previous question where you said, how do you do the analysis, right? So let's say that you digitized and automated, and there is a lot of data forming up. Then we sit down with our clients. My account managers will sit with the clients to say that your fleet mix may have to be juggled around a little bit. You are having too many 4-seaters than 6-seaters. If you take them on the sourcing model, it's probably going to be easier for you, right? So these are some of the, and policies that we call it transport policy consulting. So we consult with our clients to say, you may want to relook at where you are if your target is to reduce cost. Some of them may come up with, I want to enhance the, comfort. Enhancing comfort is as simple as getting cutoffs closer to the shift time. For example, Can I book 10 minutes ago? Otherwise, it's too many transactions, right? You book the previous day for 5 p.m. Towards 4:30, you see that 5 is not going to be possible. You push it to 6 and so on, right? Now, this also creates holes in the name of no-shows, right? That need to be handled. So the comfort is, are you going down without any hassle? Have you just boarded your car? Have you left? There are many of these things that can be built also. So the 3 levels are digitize, automate, and optimize.
2 questions I want to ask you. First, you mentioned some of your customers. Can you tell us about 3-4 of some of the biggest clients that you have? Can you tell us their names?
Yeah, so we have clients like Infosys, we have Barclays, we have Flipkart, the whole bunch. The list is, the last I counted was getting closer to 300. So
lovely. 300 across 21 cities.
22 cities, yeah.
22. Lovely. 2 of my own examples I'll give. So 2015 was this first job where sometimes we would go to Singh Saab and say, sir, today we don't want the drop here. We want the drop there, because going to a friend's place or relative's place, date, anything. And this, a lot of people have done in multiple jobs. So how would somebody sort that out? Because the entire system is automated.
Again, a very good nuanced question. The solution is the following. To each, so that it is possible that you may go to different places, but it is canned to within 3 to 5. For example, there are people who go to their in-laws' place over the weekend, on Friday only, etc.
Correct.
So to an employee, we give up to 5 alternate locations that you can choose from on the system itself. Point number 1.
Right.
Point number 2, we let corporates to create hotspots. For example, they may have team outing on certain days, etc. That is also supported in the tool. You can say that, hey, on Fridays we go for a gathering to this place. You can
Correct.
actually coordinate and organize that on the tool, right? And then there is always this ad hoc module, which is for any to any, but that would mean that your company gives you the privilege.
Right.
So we have privilege sets that you can create in a tool like ours. It's an ERP. So you can say that this team nature is different. So they may choose a car, like a sales team, for example, will be having a bunch of possibly dedicated during a certain period of time cars, which they can just use as and when they please, right? Based on the patterns, we will source the cars for it.
AI is changing the game in so many of the industries, but it's a recognized fact that the system is not 100% foolproof yet.
Yeah.
What's been some of the biggest technical challenges that Routematic has faced when implementing AI in real world traffic scenarios?
So definitely the variance needs to be captured, right? It has to be tamed. That's the whole job of AI, and it can never come to zero. You can only use more and more tech to reduce it asymptotically towards zero. So that is how it works. And definitely there have been nasty surprises sometimes when the data has been insufficient or data itself has a bias. For example, right? Naturally, I mean, this is not like a racial bias, but naturally when my systems are, when in a city, when my customers are on one end of the, let's say in the beginning, in the formative years are on one end of the city, the bias would be applied to the rest of the city. For example, travel time and all that, right? If you just to give you a very rudimentary example, if your travel times were using distance as one of the fundamental metrics, which by the way, it shouldn't, right? You would see that the traffic of where your maximum customers are will influence the other side where it may not apply. The
Right.
traffic of an ITPL should not apply to traffic in electronic city, right? So these are some of the things in the very formative years when you have some insufficient data. But I am glad to tell you that today in the 5 cities, I mean, we are in 22, but the top 5 cities,
Which are?
Bangalore, Delhi NCR, Chennai, Hyderabad, and Pune, not Mumbai. Mumbai is small in the BPO capital. Bombay is big, but it's a financial capital. It's not
Correct.
the BPO capital.
Correct.
So Pune is much bigger for us than we actually literally started in Pune. Started the fleet operations out of Pune.
Which year?
This was 2018,
Right.
and then COVID hit within 2 years. Yeah, so these are some of the things, right? In the top 5 cities, if you have to, I keep analyzing my data more or less on a daily or weekly basis. These days, the amount of GPS data, the IoT data that we get can cover the city's roads 5 to 6 times every day. That's the amount of data that we get, mapping data that we get, to the effect that we have built our own, what we call compute graph, that will power the entire analytics on top.
I want to talk about a topic which is really, really talked about a lot. Let's talk about the beast that is Bangalore traffic.
Mhm.
So popular, so infamous. Stand-up comics go overseas and talk about Bangalore traffic, and the entire Indian community can relate to that.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, do you think AI and automation can ever fully solve the problem of Bangalore traffic?
Okay, that is not the job of AI. Let me take a counter stand, right? Just because there is AI doesn't mean traffic will get solved. In fact, in fundamental statistics, there is this, we call it queuing theory, whatever you want. If you open a road 100 times, right, the traffic will still multiply 100. It's not going to solve any problem. This is I don't know why people miss it. If you make a road wider, the people who are underserved, meaning who never chose to come, will come now. So traffic can never be solved just with those measures, right? Traffic is solved by people not moving. Okay?
But people got to move.
People got to move. So those choke points which are artificially creating can be solved. This is a very counterintuitive. It's not like some AI or technology will come in and solve problems. It can rechannelize, but the crowd is a crowd. You can only take a volume and redistribute it. And when you redistribute the volume, if the infra doesn't change, if you just redistribute, you have only redistributed. You have not. And if something becomes way better than what it was earlier, which it won't be, by the way, it will be probably marginally 10-20% better, then the crowd will all go there and it will again choke. That is how it works. With the limited infrastructure, when you open a point, more crowd is going to come there from wherever it is choked. That it is gone. So it is incredible that the people think that some sort of technology or solution alone will solve traffic problems. I think that infra has to improve, and I also think that yes, they are all going to solve some part of the problem. But it's not like, okay, I invent an algorithm tomorrow and all of Bangalore traffic is solved. Not the case. What we are doing right now is given that this is the traffic pattern, and given that people have to move at certain times, you can't tell people, for example, right? We could have had this podcast at 2 a.m. also, just because the traffic would be less. Would you be willing to do that?
No.
Right? So it is little less tolerance on either side, but not like a totally different thing, right? So it is one thing to say that traffic exists. You have to acknowledge that traffic exists. Infra should solve the choke points, things that have been artificially created. Meaning, if not for the choke point, traffic would have moved beautifully. But if there are no choke points, if the city is full of nice, good roads, and there is traffic, you can only reorganize the roads, right? Redistribute the population among the existing infra. Like I said, that will draw crowds towards what seems to be working, and they will keep getting redistributed. You're only redistributing and rebalancing. There's nothing much possible with AI, right? Signals can be intelligent enough to allow the flow so that it is democratic. The amount of travel time is still the same. It is just that instead of one guy waiting half an hour, you distributed it among people to some extent. But if that gets, like I said, beyond 10-20%, the rest of the crowd will follow this and ensure that everything gets blocked again. And the more important thing is, more volume will come and hit you. If you open, so some people are not traveling because the traffic is high. If you think that the traffic is a little better, we have infinite number of people and mobility requirements. It's a bottomless pit. Mobility, the exciting thing about it, it's not like there is some level where, these are the number of trips that will ever be possible. Yeah. If you multiply the number of people by the number of hours, that's there. But otherwise, the more easier you get, the more people are going to come and crowd, the more affordable you get it, right? So when I say affordability in terms of cost and the timing.
Out of the most heavily occupied cities when it comes to the workforce travel, especially when it comes to BPO, which are 3-4 of the cities which are the worst hit when it comes to traffic?
All cities have that, but it's sometimes depending on the time of day and the locality, right? You call something as traffic when it lasts for too long in the day rather than half an hour. Like it usually takes 1 minute, but it takes half an hour. May still be okay if it happens once. But there are these continuing
on a daily basis.
On a daily basis and over longer periods of time. Every city has its own share of, for example, you go to NCR, the DLF cyber city kind of thing will happen. In Pune, there are enough number of choke points. We call them choke points, right? So Bangalore, there are many. In fact, you will find it hard to see a non-choke point during the general shift times, which is 7 to 11 and 4 to 7, right? PM. Yeah. So it is, I would say, based on the time of day, you will be stuck. Yeah.
On the basis of data points, can you tell us 3 cities which are the worst hit when it comes to traffic?
Yeah. So naturally, Bangalore, NCR and Pune.
Bangalore, NCR and Pune. And slightly...
Hyderabad is better.
Hyderabad is better.
Chennai is also, it is bad, but not as bad as these two.
And I've traveled across Hyderabad and Chennai during the peak hours and seen, especially during the mornings, not as bad as
because they
Bangalore
do have the
NCR.
Alternatives, like I told you. They are fairly older cities which have alternative ways to, and Chennai especially is very advanced in terms of mass transport systems, right? There is a suburban train, there is a metro train and so on. And the culture is to travel with those, right? Even in Bombay, if you see, there is a metro culture that will offload people from. That is the infra level intervention that we need to take. Put it in the culture by giving enough infra.
I want to ask you, and it's a bit of a culture question as well. At whenever point of time when the Bangalore metro construction finally happens and most of the city gets connected through the metro, do you think that culture shift will happen, or are people way too used to the comforts of the instant booking?
See, I come from Chennai where the culture is like this, right? Whenever people say, if I ask you where in Chennai do you stay, the first thing they'll tell you is I'm near Kodambakkam station. Some station name will come. Not yet in Bangalore.
Can I tell you the exact similarity which is there in Mumbai?
Yeah.
Exact same.
Correct.
I live near Khar station.
Correct.
I live near Andheri West.
Even if the other person is not intending to come by a metro or a train, the culture is where everything is in relation to a suburban or a metro station.
Absolutely.
That has not happened in Bangalore yet because there is no big. It is hardly 2 or 3 lines. Not yet.
The entire city is not connected by the metro yet.
And when that happens, yes, what you're saying will happen.
Given your experience, if you had unlimited resources, policymaker backing, what's one AI-driven system that you would want to implement to fix urban traffic congestion in India?
So point number one, definitely what is already happening, which is in terms of signals that are AI driven, to rebalance again, right? I would like to reiterate that AI can only it will not totally solve a problem. It will take and democratize the hit among people. If multiple people, for example, if there is one guy with no traffic and there is one guy with half an hour traffic, it will make sure that both people take 15. That's basically what we are talking about.
Right.
It's a question of what you're optimizing for, right? So traffic signals that are intelligent enough to understand the traffic patterns and so on, that is point number one. And increasing, definitely it is not really AI driven determination of the high frequency routes where mass transportation systems in terms of metros, buses have to be derived. And this is also a bit of a controversial thing, which is to book seats even in local, which is actually not possible, right? The problem why somebody may not travel by metro is that even if I get 50% of the time a seat, right, I may not travel, because 50% of the time I don't get a seat because I am 20 kilometers away. It's a 1 hour travel by metro, right?
By metro,
many
by
people
local.
have nothing against, but people don't have anything against mass transport except for the fact that they cannot book a ticket, right? But from whatever interactions I've had,
a seat.
That is not going to be possible. I have talked to some policymakers also. No, the government cannot get into seat booking at local level, right?
Absolutely not possible.
And that is a big bummer when it comes to traffic problems as well, right?
Which one will you prefer? You save time and you save money and reach from point A to point B quicker, or you get the comfort of a seat but you have to be stuck for 2 hours during the traffic and reach office late? Which one will you prefer? Especially the young audience, tell us in the comments. I want to ask you about this one country which is considered to be miles ahead. So many, in terms of so much, it is said that Japan is way ahead compared to number of other countries. You were there during your time at Texas Instruments. Japan is so much ahead in urban mobility, transport planning. What do you think that Japan is doing right that India is not being able to crack?
See, at that time, if I remember correctly, 2005 to 7, there were 69 metro lines in Tokyo.
2007.
So there is the Japan Railways, but there are also other private lines which are deeply interconnected. So it is a metro to the core. And you can buy a Suica at that time, right? It was then integrated into a mobile phone, thanks to some of the things that I have done in the security world. So this Suica card, which used to be there, the debit cards or whatever cards that we see now, right? The flash cards, NFC and so on. So I have actually worked on those technologies at that time, where they went from single ticket across all the private operators will work, right? It will charge. You can put a ticket this way, that way. You can flash a card. Then towards the end of my tenure there, we could actually flash a mobile phone and get the same thing done. Right?
Lovely. And this was which year?
2005 to 7. 2006 and 7, these things started.
In 2007, you could flash that on your mobile phone itself and get the ticket done.
Yeah, and that would work on a bus also.
Insane.
And if you take a switch over, it is all settled with the switch over. Like basically there are trains that are timed, okay, which will come to the same platform at the same time. Different private lines when you can switch from one to the other.
Different you can private switch tracks as well.
You can just cross to the other side. No, right. The other vehicle, the other train will come at the same time.
Correct.
They actually arrive at the same time. You can just cross to the other platform and take the train and go wherever you want.
For a different track.
Because they would have understood that this is a frequent switch people want to go to, let's say, a National or a Panasonic. They're large manufacturing companies, right?
Wow. I'll give a little context to all the viewers. Say the Delhi folks, you will understand. You have to shift on Mulchand Metro, walk from yellow line to purple line, which is like a 10-minute walk, and then hop onto the different metro to go to your destination. Here you don't have to do that because real time
they synchronize them.
That synchronization is happening and used to happen in 2007 itself.
For many of the frequently traveled routes,
Incredible.
This happens. You can just cross from one to the other and take like you can switch from green to brown or whatever it is on the same platform. Just cross.
Incredible.
Right? And the same card would work in a bus as well, which is the feeder bus, as you call it. It seamlessly works. And in the vending machine, so I'm talking about 2005 to 7 when these things happen. In fact, at that time we had 3G, even before 3G was formalized, by the way. Japanese were a little impatient, so they launched 3G before 3G. It was called Super 3G at that time.
Wow,
Docomo
way
launched-
ahead of its time.
yeah. So
country.
that is how they think. I used to work on 3G chipsets in 2005 when 3G was not 3G as we see it, right? So yeah, I mean, I have not seen an equivalent. I mean, I had recently been to Singapore. That is also there. Dubai is also coming up. But for too many complicated trains to run across and do this level of synchronization. In fact, you may be surprised that in Japan, they also give you a small slip in case the train is late, which you can carry to your office to let them in if you're late.
Wow.
When you exit, the trains might have been delayed by, let's say, 5 or 6 minutes, and you may not be able to enter your campus where they shut the door at 9. They don't let you. So they will give you a slip to say with an apology note that says, it is the train and not me. I was on the correct train.
Insane. Crazy. When was the last time that you visited Japan?
2018. Just
And-
for vacation.
And what did you see then? Because it was 11 years later. How much had the country changed?
So that was a big perspective change for me. Japan remained more or less the same, but the advances in Bangalore were tremendous. Like I used to go to HIL airport. Now it is BIAL, which is looking way better than Narita. I'm not joking, right? The rapid pace, when you travel like this, right, across Bangalore or Chennai or whatever to abroad and come back, they are already at a kind of a saturated point that when you travel from here, we are moving much more rapidly because we are coming from some kind of nowhere to some kind of everywhere, right?
True.
Whereas the pace, what more can they improve? I mean, they've covered every square inch and every azimuth possible, that they are only refining things, right? There is nothing to fault kind of a scenario. But here we are making rapid progress.
Let's talk about sustainability a little, because a lot of the companies also are trying to push towards that. Routematic has been pushing for EVs as a part of the sustainable transport future. What's the biggest roadblock, do you think, that's keeping Indian companies from completely adapting to these solutions?
So corporates and solution providers should understand that ESG should mean economic sense guaranteed, not just the environmental and sustainability. That there is a big gap in trying to solve for it 100%. Yet the world is not ready for a 100% solution yet. We can try it in a few, but you have to, I mean, what we call the no free lunch theorem in computing, right? You're not going to get free lunch by just having everything sustainable. There is a cost to it. So I do feel that building it on a roadmap makes a lot of sense as OEMs are getting better products on the road, because it's a chicken and egg problem, right? I mean, your cost has to be low for you to be interested. But if the cost is low, I cannot I cannot produce 2 or 3 units and so on. But we are definitely at that tipping point right now. From what I see is very exciting from what the OEMs are delivering right now on the EV side. And there is a huge demand from the corporate side, but they won't foot the bill for, a premium over a diesel, for example, right? A premium over diesel is still not something that is desirable. So we are looking at a scenario where I see that we are just at that tipping point when the EV story is going to explode. But it is still not going to be like 100% within a year. I think it may take 2-3 years minimum. But building it 25, 30, 40, up to maybe 80-90% is what we are looking at on the ESG side.
Uber's looking to team up with Tesla for autonomous vehicles. How does Routematic view potential partnerships in India to enhance employee transportation?
Partnerships with the fleet vendor ecosystem is critical to us, because it is not like we are going to buy vehicles. It is coming from our vendor partners and drivers. So that is very crucial on the supply side. Now we are talking about supply side, right? So those partnerships are critical. Partnerships with OEMs is also key, especially when it comes to EV, because we are at a stage where the investment on an EV is still not affordable by a common driver. Okay. The affordability, the cost is still more than double from whatever I know right now. For that same grade of vehicle, it's going to be double. This is beyond reach. And it is not reusable, meaning other than, because there is a charging concept involved, it is not like every driver is going to be aware of where the charging stations are.
Exactly.
There is still that infra, EVs are uniquely positioned for the corporate transport where we can do this stuff. I talked about predictive fleet dispatch. You see how EVs fit well into that, where you can also predict that it is going to run out of charge, the juice, and therefore can be dispatched to the nearest. or the most optimal. Nearest is typically sometimes not always the most optimal. So that is also something that we are looking at. So I think we are at an exciting stage in EVs where the ecosystem is at that. I mean, there would be those times when you want to give up, but then it comes back. But then that is how the first gen works. Now I am truly seeing the second gen of the OEMs, the the ecosystem bubbling up. That definitely it's going to be an exciting game in the next 2 to 3 years time, the way I see it.
Ride hailing drivers face tough times at certain situations. How does Routematic see the rise of platforms like, say, Namayatri that can ensure that these models improve driver satisfaction and efficiency for you guys as well?
See, on the supply side, you can acquire supply, you can create supply all you want, but you need to retain supply. That is the problem, right? Do you think that these other mechanisms are going to create supply is the big question mark. There is supply. Whether they play on Uber or Ola or Namayatri, it is the same supply, right? They attach, as a consumer, it doesn't really matter too much to me. It is the same driver coming in a different uniform, right? With a different sticker. So are these platforms able to create supply? Meaning, will a bunch of people from the villages or on the outskirts of the city come down saying, I want to make this my profession? Are you capable of creating supply? That is my dream to do now. Because there is a bunch of drivers, they are doing enough number of trips. You are going to get those trips in a different badge and a uniform, right? Are you capable of creating supply to the effect that people are so confident about their minimum requirements being met in terms of net take home? Is the dream that Routematic is trying to fill with the fixed income platform.
Are you all at Routematic thinking of incorporating AI models like, say, DeepSeek R1 into your platform? How do you balance external AI with your own in-house development?
So, DeepSeek, OpenAI, all of these are large language models. And they are powered even as we speak. Their fundamental is basically the transformers that they are using. We are actually using transformers and the nuts and bolts directly. So, and the language use cases that we have are fairly less. You can use them in a few cases, but that is just because we want to use them, but there may not be a need, right? There are a few use cases like support tickets can be automated, etc., etc. But the main point is transportation, where an LLM doesn't solve the problem. What we have created, I can probably, the closest I can come to is a LGM, which is a large geocode model, right? So whatever we have built is in a sense not an LLM but an LGM all by itself on the same rack, right? Instead of giving a meaning behind every word, which is what LLMs do, I'm giving a meaning behind every geocode, right? So I may not have to use LLM, but the concepts are very exciting. Like there are a few, I would say that DeepSeek is basically, if you understand the math behind it, a few nice intelligent tweaks over OpenAI, and OpenAI is basically throwing a lot of technology behind what is an established transformer model by increasing the word length. And people have trained it on 50 words, 60 words from long ago. If you see the evolution of how we have come here, it is just throwing compute at the problem. There are a few tweaks can reduce the cost of that compute. So that is the way that AI is progressing. But AI is being understood as LLM because the most prominent use case that people interact with is that. But there are nuts and bolts in terms of tech that drive such large language models, and we are directly accessing those in Routematic.
You have worked in chipsets before yourself. With India pushing for its own AI chips and models, how do you see this shaping the future of companies like your own, Routematic for that matter?
I don't think we have much to benefit by silicon that is going to be made in India. Of course, if it were to be cheaper and compute were to be set up in India, that's a different story. It remains to be seen what tangible benefits one would expect. Of course, compute cost may come down because they are going to be hosted, assembled, hosted in India. There is definite possibility, but I would still keep my options open to understand how this is going to evolve. But we are not a direct consumer of chipsets in our daily life. Of course, the mobile phone, etc. But that is more of a consumer topic. And compute being made available for training very large models. We do train with a lot of data, but we have applied tweaks on them that we don't need an OpenAI or a DeepSeek kind of a solution yet. If that were to happen, definitely this is going to be something we should look at. But right now, I do not see a direct, tangible applicability of this.
You are already in 21 cities across the country. No, 22. You're already in 22 cities across the country. Any plans to take Routematic global? And if so, which markets do you see as the best fit for your model?
We are definitely exploring going global. It is an option, but that is only after we have. I mean, we do have a few that are already ongoing. Cannot disclose those right now, but definitely there are a few that are ongoing. But if I have to choose global versus India, India is the best in terms of the complexity, the volumes that you have, etc. We are quite happy with the Indian story. But many of my customers are insisting, existing clients in India are insisting that this is so good that I want this in my office in a different corner of the world. So we are definitely enabling it towards that. But what Routematic directly solves for is probably not as applicable in rest of the world. It is applicable, but in terms of volumes and the value for the technology investments that you do, India is good enough. But there are a few ancillary solutions that we are in development on. A little too early to disclose those because we are still running closed pilots with a few clients. There are ancillary solutions that are probably a lot more applicable outside globally that we are evaluating for sure. Yeah, the one-line answer is yes, but the caveat is that India is way bigger than the rest of the world, that we will treat it as that in that ranking.
Okay, Sriram, before we let you go and before we start the rapid fire, one advice that you would like to give a young Indian entrepreneur looking to build something in the tech area, looking to build something in the AI field, build it in the country, take it to the world, what will be that one advice?
Right? If you're already planning to do a startup, you're failed. You should wet your toe.
You should?
You should wet your toe. If you want to swim, don't come around, don't sit out there and ask me questions on how we are swimming. Right? Wet your toe, just jump. One of the things that I heard Vinod Khosla say in one of the NASCOM that is still stuck to me is there is no known cases of death by entrepreneurship. Right? Go for it. I mean, it doesn't hurt. Right?
Lovely. Honest, candid. Absolutely loved it. That's exactly how we want you to be for this segment also, which is the rapid fire segment. Honest, candid, and rapid. Okay. AI in one word.
Possibilities.
If you could have one futuristic AI tool for Routematic, what would it be?
I mean, we are building those. So I really do not know what futuristic tool. We build those tools, right? That is the genre we come from. But yeah, so we will build those.
One AI myth you wish people would stop believing.
That it can solve everything.
Especially Bangalore traffic.
It can only redistribute, it cannot solve directly.
One word to describe Bangalore traffic.
Nightmare.
Very honest. If you could ban one thing from Bangalore roads, what would it be?
Spitting on the roads.
That should be banned everywhere in India. Metro, self-driving cars or flying taxis. What will solve Bangalore's traffic first? Metro. The best book or article you've read on AI.
On AI, there is only one paper that is of relevance, which is the Attention is All You Need by Vaswari. That's all you need, actually. There is a paper. It's a publication. That's all you need. No other book is required.
If not mobility tech, what sector would you want to be in?
I would have stuck to my IC days, right? The ASIC design or security, embedded security, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
If AI could automate one annoying daily task in your life, what would it be?
Knowing which mode of commute to take on that day.
Which though Routematic is already doing for the corporates.
No, I cycle to office sometimes.
I know. Before shooting, we were talking. That's a great move.
It's a question of, which mode of transport. Should I carpool? Should I take a bus? One of those things based on whatever is available out there. Yeah.
One tech buzzword you think that is overhyped?
AI. Deep learning, all of these buzzwords that, for the practitioner, I do consider myself a practitioner. There's a little bit of too much on LLMs and, they are quite powerful, but not so much as they are overhyped is the only thing I can think of. At the end of the day, they are tools. Let's be very clear. They are not going to come and kill you. Let's not get into those interpretations. Be cool, right? These are, for example, right? One of the anecdotes that I'll give you on this is there were people coding in binary generation 1, and then tools came. So you have high level languages that can compile to this, right? That didn't say the number of programmers is going to be less. Where people thought, okay, high level, so you need only 3 programs. No, explored, right? Then integrated development, IDEs, right? The nice visual, blah 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 came in. That doesn't reduce the number of people to write code, right? So AI is going to make even these faster, right? There is no end to this. This is like an endless cycle of better tools that will improve your productivity. That what you are solving for is more progressive and more advanced than earlier. It doesn't mean a reduced bunch of. It will redundancies which are built over time will get flattened out. But I don't think it is going to go after jobs and all that if you are smart enough.
Do you think there are, in a lot of industries, a lot of companies are using these jargons just for the sake of it? Because I remember there was this one food brand that launched a new potato chip and said created through AI.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you even mean? It's a potato chip. What do you mean you've created it through AI? Do you think a company is doing that just for the sake of it?
So there are two aspects. One is companies doing it, and why they are doing it for is probably they are pitching to some VC who is expecting this. Like when we were pitching, let's say 10 years back for funds, people used to say there has to be the word called cloud somewhere. There has to be the AI somewhere. There has to be, all these checkpoints, right? That is when you qualify to go to the next round, right? It is like that, why not, right? People are not going to be offended by it. So let's just throw it in there just for safety. Yeah. But I think natural intelligence will probably eat artificial intelligence for lunch. Natural intelligence is more powerful than AI. AI is a tool. It's a nice, overhyped tool. This is what we look at.
Natural intelligence will eat artificial intelligence for lunch. We have got our trailer line right there. Sriram, thank you so much. It was candid. It was honest. It was great to talk to you. How was the chat for you?
No, it was it was a lot of fun. As you could see, I answered most without hesitation, which tells you that I enjoyed doing it and it is just coming straight without any filters. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Look forward to doing more with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys. I am very, very sure that you all enjoyed the podcast as well. Do tell us in the comments which were your favorite parts. For me, I cracked one of mine right now. The line that Sriram said. You tell us your favorite parts and of course share this with a fellow AI enthusiast. And for more content just like this, don't forget to subscribe to Hot Seat by AI Media House. This is me, your friend Korak. I will see you in the next one.